What is up, summoners? Welcome to the channel today. Thanks for stopping by. This video I was highly anticipating, hoping that MCOC Mod was going to drop it in the next day or two. And when I saw him posted on YouTube, I stopped everything I was doing and ran over to record this. I did a first look video on Angela and King Groot when MCOC Mod dropped that video as well. And it was well received. I had a lot of fun doing it, so I'm going to continue to do it here as well. Make sure you definitely go over. I will leave a link in the description to the original video. Leave that video a like, watch it all the way through. He does a lot of work to be able to put these videos out for us, and I can't thank him enough. Alright, let's jump right into Yondu. So I think of the two tech characters coming out, Yondu and Nebula, I think I was more intrigued to see what Yondu was going to be. I felt that I probably had a pretty good grasp on Nebula. She seems like she's going to be kind of a glass cannon, you know, more of an offensive-based champ. But Yondu, I wasn't really sure what direction they were going to take him in. If they were going to give him, you know, some strong bleeds, any sort of power drain, if he was going to be more tanky of a character, I wasn't sure. And after a quick look through his ability list and some of his attributes, it looks like he's a pretty good combination of an attack-based character and really has actually got quite a bit of utility. I just want to look here at his attributes for right this second. Let me scroll it down. There it is. Okay, so his critical rating, and I love the fact that this is kind of all laid out now, and I wish that you could kind of compare easier side-by-side characters, but I went over and wrote down some figures here. And all of these figures are based off of a 4-star rank 5 champion, so everything's kind of an equal comparison. But if you look at his critical rating and his critical damage rating at 628 and 738, I pulled up Ultron, Star-Lord, Iron Man, and Rocket Raccoon. And his critical rating is by far much higher than everyone's except Rocket Raccoon. Rocket's is at 854, and his critical damage rating is at 979. Which, for comparison's sake, Star-Lord, his critical rating is 598. His critical damage rating is 703. So he's kind of in between where Rocket is at and basically every other tech champ. But what I think is kind of unique about him is if you look now down at his armor rating of 525 and 3700, he's got, you know, very similar numbers as far as damage goes to Rocket, but armor rating, he's way higher. The armor rating for Rocket's 212. You can see there for Yondu it's 525. The block proficiency for Rocket is at 2213. So he's 1500 points higher in block proficiency than Rocket Raccoon. So really kind of an interesting combination of you know, character who's going to do a lot of crit damage. It's going to have a high critical rate, but also a character that looks like he's probably going to be able to take a punch or two, unlike Rocket. Alright, let's get into the fun stuff here. Over on his ability list, I think I'm gonna pass over the Centurion Archery, his signature ability, because his other abilities kind of affect that. So I'll come back to that towards the end. I want to start with the Yaka arrow. So these numbers, do keep in mind, these are going to be kind of overinflated because this is a completely maxed out 5-star rank 5 character. So it's a little bit difficult to tell. You know, I see 23, 24 as a bleed. That's a pretty strong bleed, but again, I don't know what that actually would be as a 4-star. But essentially, when you're doing the animations, you're doing your medium and light attacks and your heavy attack, there is a 25% chance when you're using the arrow, because he kind of switches in between actually physically hitting the enemy and using the arrow, which you'll see here in a second in the gameplay. And whenever you're using the arrow as your direct damage, there's a 25% chance for it to cause a bleed. If the enemy is immune to bleed, it's going to be an armor break instead. So this is along the lines of, think of like Elektra when you use her S1. It's going to cause a bleed. If it's a bleed immune champ, it's going to cause an armor break. Both the bleed and the armor break last for 7 seconds. Now, what I find a little bit interesting is that this is one of the first characters that I can really recall. There might be more out there that I'm not thinking of right now, but we see armor and block penetration come into play here. So attacks that he is doing, you know, physical attacks that he's hitting, you're not going to have that additional armor and block penetration, but when he's actually using the arrow, you're going to have that additional block penetration, which is kind of interesting. I'll come back to that in just a second. Now, Yondu, with all attacks, whether this be with the arrow, whether this be with his physical attacks, has a 25 chance to steal the target's armor, which it says, this is a little confusing. It says he might be able to trade for units later. So I don't know if that's kind of like a haha, he's a mercenary kind of thing that they're putting in there, or if that's like actually something that could happen. And I don't know, I'm leaning towards it's more kind of a funny thing because there's no percentages attached to it. There's really no explanation outside of that. I don't know, just kind of guessing there, but I guess we'll have to wait and actually physically see somebody play with him, or maybe wait and get a better explanation for Kabam on that one. But I don't see that as being entirely useful. You know, most of the armor up champs we fight against are in the tech class, and we really don't see a whole lot of those being used at this point. You know, if Hulkbuster was used more often or Iron Man was used more often on defense, then that would be probably pretty good. But I'm not so sure that we're going to see a lot of that. I guess maybe in special events when enemies have got nodes they're going to boost up. You know, I'm thinking of, I said 4.6, that Superior Iron Man at the beginning, he gets a bunch of armor ups every time you hit him. You know, maybe special events this is geared more towards. But yeah, definitely we'll have to wait and see what that unit thing is about. I also find it interesting in the all attack section right there. It says it generate 10% less power in the target for each debuff that they suffer, up to a maximum of 50%. So this is almost exactly like Beast. When you put Beast in his second form, the acrobatic form, when you're hitting the enemy, they receive less power. So basically, you can do this all the way up to 5 stacks of something, whether that be bleeds and heal blocks and armor breaks, I should say. I don't know, kind of interesting. Again, it gives him another layer of utility. I always like to see that. So it's not necessarily a direct power drain champ, but with this ability, which you're probably going to have up almost throughout the entire fight, either a heal block, armor break, a bleed, something is going to be up for a lot of the fight. So very useful. We'll have to actually give that some testing and find out how useful that's going to be, but definitely like to see it. Heavy attacks have a 50% offensive ability accuracy, which I find really, really interesting because the heavy attack that he does is completely with his Yaka arrow, which if you remember, the Yaka arrow has a 25% chance to either cause a bleed or armor break, depending upon if they're bleed immune. So I am assuming that that 25% chance, this 50% adds on top of that. So I think I'm safe in assuming that heavy attacks have a 75% chance to cause a bleed or an armor break. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe that is the way that that's going to work. Special Attack 1 has a 100% ability accuracy, which is pretty cool. You don't have to worry about characters like Nightcrawler, characters like Daredevil, characters like Spider-Man especially, being able to evade this. There's a 100% chance that it's going to land. It's got a heal block element to it, 100% chance to heal block for 10 seconds. If the enemy is already regenerating, that heal block is going to turn into a 20-second heal block, which I find that really, really interesting because Realm of Legends Wolverine, is this going to be a new workaround for that? I mean, a 20-second heal block is a long, long time. You're going to be more than able to get up to another special one, you know, when you've got this heal block going on. So I'm just imagining you start the fight, you get up to an S1, Wolverine is regenning. If you fire this thing off, he's going to have a 20-second heal block, which even though he's heal blocked, he's probably still going to be regenerating. So when you use the S1 again, you're going to get another 20-second heal block. I'd be interested to see if these heal blocks stack on one another. But that was the very first thing I thought of. I think he may actually be a new answer for the Realm of Legends Wolverine. I find that very, very interesting and cannot wait to see some more testing on that. The S2 is pretty straightforward. It does increase block penetration, which if you recall, the Yaka arrow whenever it's used also has 445 armor and block penetration as well. But for the Special Attack 2, only the first part of that is with the Yaka arrow. The second part, actually, he calls in one of his Merc fighters, and they kind of, I guess, shoot down from the aircraft. But that first initial hit, I would assume probably has 900 block penetration. I would think that probably doesn't hit real hard. Probably most of the damage is reserved for the second half of the attack, but find that kind of unique. Also, you can see there's increased attack for each special attack that the enemy has used. The Special 2 has 348 increased attack. That can go up to a maximum of 15 times. So for longer fights, Labyrinth of Legends, Road to the Labyrinth, Realm of Legends, something like that, where you're going to see multiple specials being used by the enemy. I could see the special attack hitting really, really hard by the end of the fight. Not only does it have that kind of increased attack power, multiplier up to 15, also has got the block penetration on top of the fact that he can armor break potentially. So I could see his special attack 2 hitting really, really hard. And then finally, the special attack 3 is going to give you a crit boost for 10 seconds. And then also, which is kind of unique here, I'm sure people will find a good use for this, but let me read it. Special attack 3, severely damaged by the Yaka arrow, enemies are unable to trigger abilities during their next special attack, which is really pretty cool. You know, characters who might receive some sort of evasion after their special, some sort of regeneration, some sort of armor up or special ability, they're not going to be able to use it. I don't see on here where there's any sort of a timetable. You know, the critical rating lasts for 10 seconds, but as far as, you know, removing the ability from the enemy special, I don't see that that's got a limit on it. So I could see that being really, really useful. I'm not sure we've ever seen an ability quite like that, but for special events, I could see that being used quite a bit. Okay, so real quick before we actually jump into the gameplay here, the Yaka arrow is kind of used. It's alternated between using the Yaka arrow and physical attacks. So it's only the Yaka arrow attacks that are subject to the 25% chance to cause either the bleed or the armor break if the champ is bleed immune. So it's not every single hit that he does has that chance to cause a bleed. It's only kind of those alternate hits, which he kind of starts using the Yaka arrow with his lunge forward attack. Then the first light attack is a physical attack. Then it kind of alternates back and forth like that. So let me go ahead and play it. You'll see that right away, which the animations are really smooth. I was kind of interested to see how they were going to do this, but I think it looks great. You can see it right there. He's using a combination of both the arrow and physical attacks. Now right there, and pause it, that was your special attack 1. Now keep in mind, it is a heal block for 10 seconds. If there is a regen that's going on currently when you use your S1, it's going to be a heal block for 20 seconds. But there's not, so in this case it's just a 10-second heal block. In addition to that, instead of causing the bleed, again you'll notice it's an armor break because she is bleed immune. So from this point moving forward, the next thing you're going to look for is that he does use his heavy attack. I think, yeah, right there he used a heavy attack. He pulls back to the side, the arrow comes out and then lunges forward, and there again is a 75% chance that it's going to cause a armor break. And right here you'll notice he's trying to use the his heavy attack again, but Nebula has used her S1, and immediately you notice on the top there she gained a weakness, and that is because she had one debuff that was active on her when she used her special. So she's received 40% less attack power because of that, which even that still hit pretty hard. So that was a good example of the heavy attack right there. He just tried to use it and then followed that up with the S2, which if we go back, the S2, again, you notice the first part of the attack is with the Yaka arrow. So I'm going to say that that is still subject to the 25% chance to cause an armor break or a bleed. And then the second half of the attack has the increased armor penetration for this character by 445%. Now you'll notice right there, he was basically just spamming the Yaka arrow attack, which is the first medium. And you can see there, it does stack the armor breaks. So I'm going to assume it's also going to stack bleeds as well. So if you are using your regular 5-hit combo, you've got a pretty good chance in there to stack some bleeds. Then if you use an S1, there's a 100% chance to get a bleed on top of that. So he's hitting pretty hard, but I think it's going to be a very strong bleed champ as well. Plus, keep in mind, on top of that, for every debuff up to a maximum stack of 5, each debuff is decreasing the amount of power the enemy is getting by 10%. So there's a lot going on here, even though it doesn't necessarily look like a whole lot. There's a lot of abilities that he's using kind of under the radar that I hope I have pointed out here fairly well for you. And then finally, he does finish the fight with an S3, which you don't see it because it ends the fight, but if you wouldn't have killed Nebula here and come back, he'd have the precision buff that lasts for 10 seconds. Then also the S3 was buffed up. Each time Nebula used a special, the S3 does hit harder. I think she used an S1 and an S2, so the attack power was multiplied by 2. I think more than anything else, I'm actually most excited by the fact that he doesn't gain any buffs. So if you were looking for a new character to bring into Alliance Wars and be able to work around Mystic Dispersion, he looks like he's going to be a good option there. He's not going to be triggering anything outside of maybe evading back and causing that dexterity buff. But, you know, he's got his heal block, which I think is going to be strong against Limbo. Magic not getting her getting health back from that. You know, I could see a scenario, you know, you're fighting Magic, you push her into her S1, she fires off a Limbo, you know, and you attack with your S1, heal blocking, causing a bleed. She doesn't get her health back. You know, now she's bleeding, ticking away. Now you're controlling her power a little bit because there's a debuff effect on her. So I think he's going to be a really good champion. I'm definitely going to be going for one of the two. You know, I'll kind of save my overall judgment on which one I think is going to be better until I actually do the review on Nebula. But I'm glad I started with him. Looks like a very solid champion. Hope that this helped. Hope that maybe if you were a little confused by his abilities after watching the video, that this might have brought some clarity to it for you. Definitely, like I said, go to MCOC Mod, leave a like, watch the video. Again, thank him for bringing this video out so we can get a first look at it. All right, guys, until the next video we do on Nebula, have a great day.